Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com. Recently, I got the chance to interview one of my favourite producers of all time, Misha Mansoor of the djenty progressive metal band Periphery. As a self-taught producer that's made a widely critically acclaimed album from his home studio, he has some interesting insights into the journey from making amateur demos to pro productions that any aspiring musician would find useful. If you haven't already listened to Periphery, I seriously advise it. Their songs have an incredible depth to them. Their musicianship is top-notch, which really comes across live, and the production value is positively inspiring. I caught up with Misha backstage at Periphery's show in Birmingham during their first UK tour. Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com, and today I'm here with Misha Mansoor from Periphery. How's it going, Misha?
It's going good.
Good. How's England?
It's good and jet lagged, but it's good. And the weather is just lovely here. I just love the dreary sky now.
You've really got the hang of the sarcasm. Nice one.
Yeah, no, I've been here a lot. No, I love the UK, but the weather sucks, and you guys know that, so it's all right.
It's all good. Okay, let's start with the important stuff. What's your favorite song by Nobuo Uematsu?
Oh man. Oh, that's a doozy. God, I'm just not gonna pick a favorite one. I'm just gonna pick whichever one has been like sort of floating in my head the latest, and maybe Fisherman's Horizon from Final Fantasy VIII.
Nice.
Like kind of obscure. Oh, it's so good.
Yes,
I think that'll be the next song.
That's my favorite game.
Really? 8?
Yeah,
oh, you like 8 more
Which
than
one's
7?
yours?
7. But that's only because I haven't played 6 yet, and like I'm told that once I play that will be my favorite one.
All right, so let's be a bit philosophical. Why do you produce music?
By accident. It was all an accident. It was a terrible misunderstanding. It really, I mean, like I'd always been sort of producing my own music, or whatever you want to call it, just for the sake of putting out music, or just really to not forget my riffs, because like I have horrible memory. And it started out from like, just being like really terrible demos to like, oh, well, I have terrible gear, but I want to see how good I can get it to sound, kind of working my way up. And it was like, oh, maybe I can get like a good demo sound, or, good enough like for an EP or something. And like finally I worked it to a point where I was like, well, maybe I could, try to do the album myself. And while all this was happening, my friend Tosin, who is now in Animals as Leaders, formed all that, like he came to me because like his project had just gone completely screwed, and like it was supposed to be just me recording him and producing his project, but it ended up being like a total like collaboration. Like I wrote a ton of parts, but like I also did the production on that, and arranged the songs and like rewrote them. Like it was, we just took the songs apart. If you ever heard the original demos, they have like basically nothing to do except for like a few riffs here and there, and that was a lot of fun, just getting on the creative side of things. And like from then, like I guess people started thinking that I was a producer, and they started coming to me asking if I'd do their stuff. The next band I did after that was Stray from the Path, and I had so much fun doing that. I've done a lot more work by now if it hadn't been for like the Periphery's like touring full time, and it's very, very hard to try to fit it all in.
Which do you prefer then, touring or studio time?
I actually hate the studio. I just like the end result, if that makes sense, It's so stressful. And touring can be stressful in a way too. But honestly, like the best way to answer that is just like if I do too much of one thing, I just start to like really want to do a whole lot of the other. So after being in the studio for a while and like just focusing entirely too much on that, like I just want desperately to get back out on the road. But like I really haven't had a chance to like go to this, like record anything at home or record any of my ideas lately. So when I go home, I really want to do that because like I have a million ideas that I just haven't had a chance to even lay down in any sort of format.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Anyone that follows you knows you're huge on your Axe effects and you love it. I wonder if we could talk a bit about the specifics of that.
Yeah.
Like what kind of amps do you use on it? The
No. I funny enough, like although a lot of guys in metal seem to be getting into Axe effects, it was really not even aimed at the metal or high gain crowd. It was made for like cork sniffers, right? Like the boutique enthusiasts who wanted to like get like, like Dumbles and like train wrecks, sort of emulated for a fraction of the price. And they had all these other amp models, and I think just because it's so true to its modeling capabilities, like it manages to replicate high gain, mid gain, whatever tones very, very well. But yeah, like I actually A/B'd it against the Diesel VH4 that I had, and it was like basically the same,
Yeah.
but tighter. So yeah, it was crazy. And I've drifted off the question. What was the original? What was the original?
Which amps do you use on it then?
Oh yeah, like so. I compared the diesel model, the Das metal, the new Recto model, which in real life I don't like, but I really like the way it sounds on there. The 5150 model, the Uberschall is cool. The Fryette model is cool. The problem is like, before I had a pod and like I felt like the Big Bottom was the only good high gain model, so it was like that's what you work with, But with this, it's like there's so many options and they all sound good. They just sound a little different. It's like where do you go? So I feel like I'm using like just like a % of its actual capability because I just want to get a good sound and there's like a million different ways to do it.
Yeah. How about the cabs then? Do you use custom IRs or?
I've been using like mainly the ones on it right now, just because I haven't had time to mess around. I have these red wires ones, which they're amazing, but there's so many of them, and it's like just finding the right ones and the right combination. But I think those actually have a lot more potential. I just need to have time to sit down with them. But I highly recommend checking those out, the Red Wires cabs, because there's just so many options. It's kind of absurd.
So you made the entire Periphery album with just the default Axe-Fx?
Yeah, Axe-Fx Ultra, and like I think I used the German cab, which is like an angle cab if I had to guess. But
that's really impressive. Nice one.
Yeah, just direct to my PreSonus FirePod. Yeah, spending big money.
For the more ambient and pretty sounds, which kind of effects do you use?
It's really just reverb, delay, maybe a little bit of chorus, like nothing too fancy. I feel like I don't really use like it's, I just don't have time to mess with as much stuff as I'd like to, just have like a day to just mess around making clean sounds. But I went to the Fractal booth at NAMM this year, which was just basically like a hotel room, like it was such a sweet setup. And they showed me like this patch that Devin Townsend, or that they had made with Devin Townsend, which Devin said like cannot be released to anyone, unfortunately, because it was the most glorious thing that I've ever played. And that showed like the true like potential of like these crazy effects. And it was just like reverbs, delays, like all 4 rows were just being used. It was like it didn't even sound like a guitar almost.
Awesome.
It was amazing.
That's really cool, man. I know a lot of the Boy in a Band audience are quite uneducated when it comes to this, and you're quite experienced. What's a French doorknob?
Oh, a French doorknob. That was improvised. I think it's when you stick your...
How do you go about making a good bass tone? And how important do you think that is?
I take the Metallica approach. Screw the bass, who needs it, right? It's just an extra mouth to feed. Now, actually, I think there's either like 2 kinds of reactions to our music. It's like, wow, you have a lot of bass in your music, or there's no bass at all. And it's because the bass is very much designed to like sort of fit right into the guitar's space, like not in the guitar space, but fill in right where the guitars leave off and like fill out the low end.
What kind of frequencies is that?
I don't know frequencies at all. I'm really stupid with that, and I do apologize because I'm sure it would be useful. But like my approach from the beginning has always been sort of just listen. So I never really paid too. I know the general areas, but like it's just that low-ish area, low
so
mid.
It's purely by ear then.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
But like that's the only way I've ever learned. I mean, I'm self-taught. That's the only. I never learned like what frequencies you're supposed to, and it never really mattered because even if you're supposed to and it didn't sound good, I wouldn't do it. So, and I feel like it's very specific to the kind of bass tone that you're using and what you're going for. What I will say is that like I use a pod, and I basically have like two tones going on that pod, because it's the X3. It has the dual amp models, and one is like very round and fat for like a really strong fundamental, but the other one is like really like gritty and really just upper mid-range more than anything, and on its own is completely useless, but like adds that bite which lets it sit really well with the guitars. It's almost like a center track to the guitars. And it's all just supposed to fit together like one wall of sound. And since they are usually mirroring each other an octave apart for the most part, like it does fit really well. So to some people, they don't even hear it as bass. It just sounds like an extension of the guitars themselves.
How about the drums then?
The drums is all tune track. Like for the demos, I programmed and I sort of like built my sound off that, and I absolutely love the way that they sound. And the problem that we're having is like I like these huge mixes that have like all these layers in it, and even we tried doing some live drums in the studio, but like without using samples, it was just hard to get anything to cut through consistently, you know. And I figured if we're using samples, then we might as well use the best sample pack, you know. So what we did is for the album, we had Matt play Roland TD-20 that at one point in time used to be mine, and I sold it to a friend. So we just did the drums there. I took the MIDI information, and you know I'd already like tweaked my drum sound, and it could be tweaked after the fact. And you know if small edits needed to be made, you know they could be made after the fact too. So it was actually so painless. It was awesome, you know, because normally the drums are like they're like the worst part. You have to like, you know, just seeing like when we have tried like live drums at like friends' studios, it's like, you know, you track it, then you gotta take it, you gotta edit, you gotta quantize, you gotta fill in the gaps, you gotta like then like manually put the samples, tab transient, it takes forever. And if you don't like something, you can either retake it and hope to get similar sound. You know, it was just a pain. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong or bad with it, because it does create its own set of like opportunities and challenges. But I think just for our sound, like doing tune track samples was just so much better for what we needed. And I think it actually ended up sounding a lot more realistic than super drum replace drums, just because the layers and the amount of samples that you get per hit, for example, are much more than like the 5 soft, 5 medium, and 5 hard that you'd use to, you know, drum replace yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.